This is sort of especially for our viewers in Arkansas. If you live in Arkansas, this is for you. If you know anybody who lives in Arkansas, I'll give you a second, give them a call, tell them to tune in. This is something that might be helpful if you live in Arkansas. Okay, ready? All right. The fifth most profitable corporation in the entire country right now, the fifth most profitable, number 5, is the Ford Motor Company. Ford is back, and they are back in a big way. Number 5. Number 4 on the most profitable companies in the country list is Microsoft. Seriously, this is not a list from 1998, I promise. This is the most recent Fortune 500 list. Microsoft has cracked the top 5. They're number 4. Number 3 on the list is Apple, and that sort of makes sense, right? Apple is just an absolute juggernaut right now. Number 2, the second most profitable corporation in the country. It's a little mom and pop operation called Chevron. The giant oil company pulled in $26 billion in profit last year alone. Not bad, right? As you can see, the top 4 most profitable corporations in the country are all within a few billion dollars of each other. They're all sort of clustered together. But none of those companies, none of them comes anywhere close to matching the undisputed king of corporate America. The top dog, the single most profitable corporation in the entire country is Boing. Wow. Exxon. Exxon-Mobil leaves everybody else in the dust. All of those companies, when they go to sleep at night, they dream about becoming Exxon-Mobil when they grow up. I mean, big numbers are kind of hard to get your head around, but just to get some idea of how rich Exxon-Mobil is, consider this. Consider Walmart, Google, McDonald's, American Express, and Goldman Sachs. All fabulously profitable companies, right? You have to put them all together to equal one Exxon-Mobil in terms of profit. Combined. Yeah. Exxon is doing just fine these days, thank you very much. Who's not doing fine are the people who live above Exxon's Pegasus oil pipeline, which ruptured in Mayflower, Arkansas a week ago today. That cleanup is still going on tonight. Those residents are still evacuated from their homes. One of the rather incredible things about this, that we learned about this spill once it happened, is that many of the residents who lived right over this pipeline did not even know the pipeline was there until it burst.
It's supposed to be a 20-inch pipeline. Runs from Illinois to Texas.
Bradley knew nothing of the pipeline.
I had no idea, and I'm the 4th or 5th house from it.
Now they know it's a bad way to find out it's there, right? We also now know about previous safety violations as it relates to that specific Exxon pipeline. In 2010, the federal government fined Exxon for failing to inspect a different portion of that same pipeline as frequently as is required by law. Sounds bad, right? I mean, not only did they not do it, but they got caught, and the federal government nailed them for it. You want to know what the fine was for that? The fine was $26,000. Okay, just for some perspective, so Exxon made $44 billion in profit last year. That breaks down to per day profit of $122 million a day. That's what they make in profit in one day. That $26,000 fine on that pipeline that eventually burst in Arkansas, the day that fine was assessed by the federal government, that represented this much of their profit that day. Look at the ratio of the 2 dots there. It's barely a blip, and that's just for one day's profit. You think that kind of robust oversight and punishment motivates a company like this to do the right thing? After the Deepwater Horizon disaster in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010, President Obama signed a law that strengthened these sorts of fines that can be levied against oil companies when they do stuff wrong. The law doubled the maximum civilian penalty that the government can issue for a single pipeline safety violation. It doubled it. It had been $100,000. Now it's $200,000. Oh, because that'll scare them. Exxon's last big oil spill before this one in Arkansas was when one of their pipelines burst underneath the Yellowstone River in Montana in 2011. A year before that disaster, federal officials had told Exxon that that particular pipeline was subject to a number of probable violations of the law. Among the regulations that Exxon was in apparent violation of were emergency response training and rules governing the potential corrosion of pipes and having out-of-date maps and records for that specific pipeline. And then, of course, that pipeline burst, flooding the Yellowstone River with oil, and Exxon was hit with a proposed fine for those violations and a few others. The proposed fine was $1.7 million. Again, just for context's sake, in terms of the day that fine was levied, here's how that fine relates to the profits that Exxon made in that single day. Exxon made that day about $122 million in profit, and here's that giant $1.7 million fine that they were slapped with. Not even a gnat bite into their profits for that one day. In terms of this latest spill in Arkansas's Attorney General has so far been pretty much all over this. We had him on the show earlier this week. He has been touring the affected area in recent days. He said today that his head hurt all the way through yesterday just from being exposed to the fumes in Mayflower for a couple of hours. He's now demanding a trove of documents from Exxon, including the company's inspection reports for this pipeline. There was also news today that a number of the residents of Mayflower, Arkansas, who were affected by the spill, they have now filed the first class action lawsuit against Exxon for what happened there. And so again, to our viewers in Arkansas, to anybody affected by this spill, here's the thing to know about fighting Exxon. Here's the thing to know about fighting Exxon over this thing that they just did to you and your state. There is nothing that Exxon fears from the federal government. They have so captured the parts of the government that are supposed to punish them when this sort of thing happens, that the pain that sort of punishment could cause them redounds to them essentially not at all. If Exxon or any oil company is ever going to be deterred from this sort of bad behavior, it will not be because the federal government holds them to it, at least not anytime soon. It will be because the individuals, or maybe the state, who they have been wronged, who have been wronged, they will be the ones who make Exxon know that they've done wrong. They will be the ones who force them to make it right. And yes, Exxon can afford it.